the Big Ten and the SEC still can't get on the same page. Shocker, as everything is kind of on hold with the college football playoff, really how teams' future schedules are going to go until we get this figured out. And I don't know. I do. Andy Staples made this point. Look, the Big Ten would like automatic qualifiers.
Yeah.
Almost like an NFL format where
that's right.
You're not going to get penalized by your league, that your league will get 4 spots in if you're the SEC or Big Ten. Well, that's not enough for the SEC. They think that they can get more than 4. So they've been against the train of 4.
Then the other big holdup is the Big Ten wants all the leagues
9.
to have 9 league games. I don't understand why the SEC is so resistant to that. That's a huge holdup right now.
See, that's why if I'm the SEC, I'm like, all right, we'll go to 9. Let's take the 4 automatic qualifiers.
But they want 5 plus 11.
So they want
to. The SEC is 5 plus 11.
They want a deal where they get 1 automatic, and then they have the ability to get, I mean, theoretically, 11 at larges.
Theoretically, but yeah, they want that 5-11.
But they don't want to play 9 conference games.
Right. So
I do think the Big Ten would agree to 5 plus 11 if the SEC and the ACC agreed to play 9.
Right. So the reason we're talking about this is because the 10 conference commissioners met this weekend in North Carolina. I was reading, in Asheville, North Carolina. That's why we're talking about this. Now, the commissioners came out and didn't talk. Petiti wasn't there. He joined it by
Zoom,
whatever. Yeah. But the reporters there, I don't know how many were there. They tried to get comment, but the commissioners just got on the elevator and walked out.
Which tells you it's tense.
Yeah. I almost appreciate the fact that they didn't talk. I don't need constant updates from these guys, especially Sankey. I'm sick of Sankey. I'm just sick of Sankey.
Well, Petiti doesn't talk. Like that's his style. Like he's not going to use the media.
Right. I'm sorry to the SEC folks out there. I'm no disrespect. You know how much I respect that league, but your leader wears thin a little bit, and he's holding things up now. I mean, I don't understand what they're doing. Just go to 9.
So go to 9.
Just be a man.
Well, the coaches, it's not his call though. The coaches of the SEC and the ADs of the SEC don't want to go to 9.
Wait a second. I'll tell you this right now. It's not the coach's call.
But the coaches don't want it.
It doesn't matter.
Here's why. Like, go back to the SEC last year. Vanderbilt beat Alabama, and they beat somebody else. Like, those. So I think the SEC coaches are fearful of more of that happening by just adding another game, which it happens in the Big Ten every week. But somehow, some way, like, they always want to crap on, but you guys played Rutgers and you guys played Purdue and Maryland. It's not the same as playing our teams. I mean, that's what they say every single time. Well, I watched Illinois beat South Carolina. I watched a very down Michigan team beat Alabama.
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
You can talk all that you talk, but on the freaking war field, the Big Ten won those games this year.
Well, the SEC does pretty well on the war field.
Iowa, who had nobody, and they lost their running back, Caleb Johnson, for the bowl game, was a play away from beating Missouri with the worst offense I've ever seen.
Do you know what I'm noticing right now? That this is probably happening all over the place, where this discussion makes media and fans very obnoxious. We've both been very obnoxious.
Well, because they don't want to bloody themselves up by playing a 9th conference game, because they know it's going to create many more 7 and 5s and 8 and 4s and take away a lot of the 9 and 3s and 10 and 2s. Mm-hmm. They know that's what's going to happen. And they're trying to hold on to those bloated records by playing the extra bye game.
Right.
And that's what they're doing. And they've created a metric that tricks the strength of schedule formula and everything else.
Well, they're trying to address it. They brought in Google mathematician.
Well, color me not impressed.
I'm just telling you what the commissioners are trying. They brought in a Google mathematician and a university math professor as they present this idea of improved strength of schedule metrics to more heavily weight teams' strength of schedule. They're trying to do that, which I applaud, by the way. Now, you got to come up with a system that works. That's the tricky part. I mean, you can say you have to reward strength of schedule, but you have to have the right system in place.
You
right?
can't use preseason rankings either to develop strength of schedule.
No.
And I think that happens a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
so I do think that's smart to do that. But now here's the thing. What do you say to Matt Rule? Because Rule has sort of operated on this with this mindset that strength of schedule is not as big a deal.
Look, they eliminated one series against Tennessee. They still play Oklahoma in the future. They still play Arizona in the future. They still play Cincinnati.
And they're in the Big Ten.
They still play Oklahoma State. So Nebraska has future non-conference opponents that are Power 4. For one stretch, when the stadium construction's going on, they are not in. They offered Tennessee to move it down later. Didn't work. Just like Tennessee made Nebraska move that series later because they wanted to play in Bristol Motor Speedway. Nebraska's having construction in their stadium, and they offered Tennessee, and Danny White went full nuclear on the whole thing.
At any rate, this all of this conversation occurs with the notion that it has to be decided by December 1.
Which seems like a stretch unless now if the SEC said 5 plus 11, we're going to 9, I think the Big Ten's in.
Okay.
But I still, God, I mean, I know you don't like the automatic qualifier, but the thought of having play-in games really is appealing to me. Where you have 1 versus 2.
Please expand.
2 play 6. Or I'm sorry, 3 play 6 and 4 play 5.
And you're eliminating the conference championship.
No, you still have a conference championship game. 1 versus 2.
Okay.
And then
after that,
that's your top seed.
Okay.
For your conference.
Then after that,
and then 2 would still make it, but then 3 plays 6, 4 plays 5.
When are you playing those games?
On the same conference championship weekend.
Oh, okay.
So on that weekend, you would have a triple header.
I don't mind that.
You'd have a 3 versus 6 at 11, a 4 versus 5, and then like a 1 versus 2.
It gives. I mean,
what's the SEC against that for? I don't get it.
I don't either. When I hear that, I hear inclusion because your 6th place team has a shot to get in.
Correct.
I mean,
but then your 7th and 8th place team and 9th place team, maybe the week before, is still in it.
That's a form of inclusion.
Now,
too.
the other leagues won't have that luxury if they only have 2.
Right.
So that's like, that would be the one negative part of it.
There's always going to be sticking points in these discussions.
And I've even heard a theory like do the 4-4, 2.5, 2.5, meaning there's a floater spot between the Big 12 and the ACC.
Kind of like that.
Or
kind of like that.
Like there could be 3 for one league one year or 3 for the other.
Right.
Like and whoever the highest ranked team is as the one that wouldn't make it would get like the floater spot.
That makes sense.
So, but no one's on board with that other than the Big Ten apparently. Because the SEC thinks they can get like 9 bids.
Don't bring up the SEC to Sean if you.
But if they play 8,
just don't do it.
No, I know. Don't. Well, because
nothing rankles.
Because they need to play 9. They need to like this. They bloat their records with crap, and then they're strength of schedule. No, you get an automatic extra win.
All right.
Like Bielema said, hey,
I'd like to lock you and I'd like Sankey to come on with us. How would that go between you and Greg Sankey? Hey, no, stop. How would it go with you and Sankey?
Well, I think he's on board. He wants to play 9. He does. He has said on record he wants 9. It's the coaches and the ADs that don't want 9.
I really. Okay.
So he's on the money. That's why the Big Ten makes more money than the SEC. They have that extra inventory. And the Bielema was like, yeah, we have agreed to play 9 plus an SEC series. We'll do that every year if we have the auto bids. And everyone's going to get richer with that format. Everybody.
Well, it's just
more coaches in the SEC might get fired because they're not going to meet their expectations. That's probably part of it too.
I just don't think the coaches are making the call on this.
Well,
that's where I'm hung up, Sean. I'd have to read more about it.
Well, who makes the most money in these things? The coaches.
But Sankey swings a very heavy hammer.
Who gets paid the most money when they get fired? The coaches. So if you go 7-5 versus 8-4, that could get you fired.
All right, keep going.
You're not on.
Well, that's enough of that discussion.